Welcome to Cinepro, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you missed. The movie begins with a girl named Sam walking alone on the street. We learn that she is talking to her boyfriend on the phone and arrives at the cinema. However, the strange thing is that she sees her name on one of the movie posters and is confused. She decides to go inside. She notices that the place is completely empty, and no one is in the theater except her. Eventually, something pulls her into a chair to watch the movie, and she sees herself drowning, covered in blood, attacked by someone she doesn't know. Then a killer appears, chasing her through the forest until she falls and sees a corpse in front of her. Naturally, she can't believe what's happening. At that moment, her friend Jack shows up to ask her to calm down for a bit until they get out of the forest onto the road, where they see the police. They try to ask for help, but the officer, Tom, doesn't believe there's a killer in the forest attacking people. Tom drives them in his car, but the killer reappears. Tom tries to approach him to get a better look, but ends up shooting him quickly. The killer falls onto the car, and Tom claims he has finished him off. Unfortunately, Tom collapses and accidentally kills himself, and the killer rises again. Jack immediately flees with Sam back into the forest. They come across an old-looking house and knock on the door in a hurry. It turns out to be the apartment of their friend Mike. Sam tries to explain what just happened, but before she can say much, the killer reappears at the door and throws a weapon at Mike, knocking him down. Jack tries to shut the door quickly before the killer enters the house. Jack prepares all the weapons to defend themselves, but the door is easily broken down. The killer manages to kill Mike with an iron rod. Jack grabs a weapon from the ground, but accidentally shoots his friend instead of the killer. Sam realizes this person is impossible to kill and decides to escape. She runs to the basement. Jack tries to resist the killer, but is overpowered and killed as well. In the basement, Sam finds herself surrounded by terrifying corpses. After a while, she hears Jack screaming, but doesn't realize he's being burned alive. She understands she must defend herself courageously. A fight ensues between her and the killer in the living room. He falls to the ground, and just before she finishes him off, she discovers that he is her old friend. He tells her the story. Some time ago, they were all gathered in the forest to celebrate when they noticed something falling rapidly from the sky. They went to investigate and found wreckage. Jack tried to touch it, but it turned into insects that attacked the entire group. Fred managed to escape to the basement, where he found a welder's mask. The insects couldn't reach his body. In the end, Fred decided to kill all his friends to free them from the insects' control. He began killing them one by one. Finally, Sam realizes she must act quickly. A spider emerges from her head, and she asks Fred to kill her to free her from the curse. Before she can finish her plea, he does so. Fred leaves the house, but the insects control him and surround him. He tries to escape. Later, we see him on the road, heading back to the house. Unfortunately, a spider has already taken control of him, and he returns to the city to spread the infection. The scene shifts to a couple, David and Anna, entering the empty theater. They notice the movie starts playing by itself. In the film, we see Anna has a birthmark on her face. David doesn't mind it, but suggests she undergo surgery to remove it, offering to cover all the costs. Anna agrees because she loves him. The next day, they go to the hospital. The doctor reassures her that the procedure will be simple and can remove 90% of the birthmark. She enters the operating room. After some time, she wakes up, imagining herself healed and happy about her upcoming marriage to David. But then the doctor appears, his clothes covered in blood. She sees a nurse with David, who reassures her that everything is better now. He tries to take a photo of her as they leave the hospital. Later, the doctor checks on her, and she asks when the bandages will be removed. He tells her not to do anything without his permission. Frustrated, she tries to contact someone, but no one answers. She approaches the receptionist nurse, but before she can speak, the nurse is called to the operating room, leaving the computer unattended. Anna searches for her name and discovers a strange operation was performed on her. Terrified, she goes to the bathroom, where she encounters a terrifying, faceless figure. Suddenly, the nurse reappears, and Anna hits her with a bottle, taking her access card to escape the hospital. She gets into the elevator, but before she can leave, the doctor appears again, asking where she's going. He injects her with a sedative. The next day, she feels better about the operation and decides to remove the bandages. To her horror, her face looks terrifying. At that moment, Nadia, David's mother, enters the room. Anna screams when she realizes her face now resembles Nadia's, who had taken her original face. Anna wakes up again in the theater, searching for David. She realizes she's alone and approaches the projection equipment. She sees a mysterious figure and screams loudly. The second scene ends here. The story then shifts to Father Frank, who also notices his name on the screen and enters the theater to uncover the story. He finds it empty. The film starts, showing his time at a nun-run school. A boy tries to harm himself, and a nun attempts to save him. But strange events occur, and the boy falls from the church. The students become very scared, and at night, Danny is frightened by what happened to her friend and is afraid to be alone. The nun tries to calm her down a bit and tells her that Father Frank is with them until they hear a sound coming from the hallways, and blood is everywhere on the statues. Here, a strange figure appears on the corner, and the next day, Danny is sitting alone because she is upset about her friend Peter, who had committed suicide the day before, until a group of girls approaches her to bully her. Strangely, she defends herself with great strength and throws the girl away from her, as if a demonic entity is helping her. Here, the girl falls to the ground and starts screaming. The moment she sees a terrifying entity standing behind Danny, she can't understand how this is happening in the place. At night, all the girls wake up at the same time, and we learn that they are under the control of the entity. The nun is sitting alone in the office to read a bit about demons. In the end, she realizes that what happened to the girls is not normal, and she needs to send a message to Frank. But here, Peter's ghost appears in the place, and we learn that his spirit is inside Danny's body. They must perform an exorcism on her. Before they can do that, the mother arrives in the room just in time. Of course, she takes her daughter to leave the church quickly, but the father realizes that the spirit is in the mother, not the daughter. She goes to the ward quickly, and here she manages to control more than one girl. When the nun goes to the room, she sees Danny tied up with her mouth stitched shut. Chaos ensues in the entire ward because of the entity, and they attack Father Frank to finish him off until Danny's mother goes to the rooftop. We learn that she also wants to commit suicide, and unfortunately, the children finish off Father Frank. The nun tries to save the mother in any way, and before she can do so, she manages to grab her, and both fall to the ground together. Unfortunately, the mother dies here, and the nun is still alive. The evil spirit transfers into her after the mother's death. The show ends here, and Father Frank doesn't understand anything. Before he can figure out what exactly happened, the owner of the place arrives on the scene, and here he hits him on the head to knock him out. The last person we have is named Helen, who enters the stage and sees her video playing in a mental health hospital. Here she sees herself with two of her children, who are bullying her because she's not normal. She looks around at everything and is surprised that she's even being treated here. She enters her session to talk to the doctor, and here, before she can say anything, he receives a call, and Helen learns that her session is over at this point. Of course, she tries to leave the hospital quickly, and she notices that the place around her has completely changed. She can't find the children who were there before. A figure appears walking ahead of her, and she tries to follow him, but he doesn't hear her. She keeps walking after him, and he looks very terrifying. She keeps asking about what happened to her children until she sees a strange vision and pulls out a weapon from her bag to end her life. Before she can do anything, she hears the voices of her children in the place, so she keeps walking toward the source of the sound until she reaches an old door and sees the shadows of her children. Here, they appear in front of her, and she manages to finish off the doctor and takes the children to leave that place. The movie ends here. Afterward, we see that the weapon is still in her bag, and she contemplates suicide again until she actually does it. Then we move to a child named Ray, and of course, like everyone else before him, he notices his name on the stage, so he goes inside, until he sees himself on a very important day, playing music in front of his family. After that, everyone is happy with the beautiful performance. The day ends like that, and they leave the venue to return home. Here, a criminal appears to threaten the family, saying he will kill them unless they give him some money. Chaos ensues, and he manages to kill the whole family. Ray tries to escape quickly from the place, but unfortunately, he gets shot in the chest. Afterward, he's taken to the hospital and keeps asking about what happened that night. The kidnapper arrives at the room to finish the job, but before that happens, the nurse also enters the room and tells him that visiting hours ended a while ago. After a while, he meets someone named Casey, and through their conversation, we learn that they have the ability to see death in any place. The next day, Ray's mother arrives at the hospital and tells him to recover quickly so he can leave again, until Casey enters the room and keeps talking to him for a while so he won't listen to his mother, saying he needs to stay here. After she leaves the room, and before she moves anywhere, the mother appears in front of her to finish her off. Ray is left alone in the room, and the killer appears to finish him off for good. He tries to hide anywhere and only finds the refrigerators. Here, he ends up with Casey's corpse, but unfortunately, the killer finds his location and goes to kill him until he has a vision of the mother and Casey. He keeps fighting back until he finishes him off, and our show ends here. After that, the theater owner appears to ask him to escape because he doesn't kill children, and this happens before he dies. In the end, we learn that anyone who enters this cinema dies afterward, and the movie ends here. So don't forget, if you like the movie, to give the video a like and subscribe to the channel.